Hi, welcome to a series of 4 short videos that we're doing as part of our REconomy theme on the Transition Network website. And each one will be looking at a different aspect of REconomy. And in this first one, I'm here with Fiona Ward from REconomy and Transition Network. And we're going to be looking at what is REconomy? Where did the idea come from? So, Fi, what's REconomy?
It's the project that Transition Network runs that gives an identity to the work that a lot of transition groups are doing around jobs and livelihoods in their local communities. So I wouldn't say we came up with REconomy. I think we gave it a name. A number of places were doing it, and certainly some of the work we've done has furthered it along, but it's something about giving it an identity.
And what are some of the key ideas behind it, do you think?
I think it's about trying to think about and imagine and then create the kinds of enterprises and businesses that we'd rather see in our towns and cities, and think more about what kinds of livelihoods we want to have and how we want the local economic system to work and what purpose we want it to serve.
I remember when we first started looking at doing the Transition Companion and looking around to see what everybody was doing in transition around the country and around the world, and we found that actually a lot of them had already started their own businesses, whether it was the Green Valley Grocer in Slathwaite or the bakery in Dunbar. All of these things people had just kind of started, and it was interesting. A lot of them were kind of cooperatives without us having written anywhere in Transition Network they should all be cooperatives. So it felt like something that was just kind of emerging and it needed some support built around it. So when you look at what's happening in terms of REconomy projects, how is it different from social enterprise? Social enterprise is such a kind of buzzword. We see everybody wants social enterprise, but how is a REconomy enterprise different from a social enterprise?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it can be a bit confusing. And I think what I've seen is that quite a lot of transition enterprises are also social enterprises, but they tend to be a bit more than that. So quite often you'll see a social enterprise with a social purpose, but it doesn't necessarily also meet an environmental need or take care of environmental issues. So transition enterprises try and tick as many boxes as possible. And an example I like to use is that you can find a social enterprise that might import plastic goods from China and sell them to carry out its social purpose, whereas for us in transition that wouldn't tick all of our boxes. We want to be looking at the supply chain, be looking at the actual production and making sure that everything is aligned with what we want transition to be doing for us.
And so it's a few years now since the idea of REconomy first started and the project was designed around it, and the trainings and the tools were then built around that. From where we were 2008, 2009, where are we now?
It feels like a really, really different place, because initially when I first started thinking about REconomy, my questions were more about how can we change existing business, how can we influence the businesses around us in the high street. And it just seemed to morph quite naturally into the bigger questions around, well, no, that's not enough. How can we actually really change the economic system? How can we transform the way we do business and the models? And yes, that might include looking at the existing businesses, but how about we actually create something new that is what we want, whole systemic change. So REconomy moved much more into the systemic areas, and that's really where it's sitting now.
Certainly feels when I go to visit transition places that REconomy is one of the things that people are most excited about.
Yeah, I think what we've seen is that to a point, transition has been able to connect with people from the green movement, from the environmental areas who are interested in those issues. And REconomy now, where we talk to people about jobs and livelihoods, has really opened up a whole new audience of interest, because we're all interested in those things. So it's certainly appealing to a wider audience.